Margot Millet is the only child in her family, so she has always been used to escaping boredom through fantasy. Whole imaginary worlds can bloom inside her head. Years pass, Margot becomes a young woman, but nothing changes. Margot still loves to fantasize. For her, it is a kind of escape from reality. She is studying literature in college. After reading her essay, Professor Mark Gable says it is a brilliant piece of work and that Margot should be studying at Harvard at the very least. Of course, Margot is flattered and happily accepts the professor's invitation to have coffee together. Margot's friend Becca, who managed to get into a more prestigious university and leave New Jersey, warns her, pointing out that professors do not just invite female students out for coffee for no reason. He is clearly hoping for something. But Margot does not see anything wrong with it, since Mark is married. But everything ends exactly the way Becca said it would. Margot naively thinks it is love. Becca, however, does not like any of this and advises her friend to stay away from this man. Margot meets her mother Shannon at a cafe and mentions a teacher who thinks she is talented. Shannon immediately senses that her daughter is in love. Becca still does not stop trying to talk sense into Margot, begging her to break things off with the professor. This clearly cannot end well. But Margot can no longer help herself, she has fallen in love. In her free time outside college, Margot works part-time as a waitress. She has been terribly nauseous for 3 days now. The restaurant manager, Tess, advises her to take a pregnancy test. When Margot sees 2 lines, she panics and has no idea what to feel. The very next day she tells the professor about it. Mark makes it clear that he does not want this and that if Margot decides to keep the pregnancy, she will be ruining her future. Completely lost, the girl goes to a women's clinic. When she hears the baby's heartbeat, Margot cannot hold back her tears. She does not have much time to decide what to do. Shannon cannot understand how her daughter could have acted so recklessly. And how will her new boyfriend Kenny take it, when he is so religious? Shannon herself once got pregnant unexpectedly and found herself with absolutely no support. In situations like that, men often run away, frightened by the responsibility. Margot cannot remember the last time she spoke to her father. They were never close. Shannon remembers how she told Margot's father about the pregnancy. It was at that very moment that she found out he was married. It broke her heart. But Shannon loved him very much and never once regretted her decision to keep her daughter. But that does not mean she wants the same life for Margot. If she decides to give birth, things will be very hard for her. Margot realizes that she does not love Mark at all, but for some reason she desperately wants to keep this baby. She has never wanted anything so much in her life. Margot's roommates, the girls she shares a place with, already know about her pregnancy and that the baby's father is a teacher. And although the girls do not exactly approve of it, they still decide to support Margot and throw her a baby shower. Once Mark learns that she intends to give birth, he predictably bails, so Margot will have to deal with everything on her own. Month after month passes this way. Sometimes she misses Mark, no matter how hard she tries to deny it. Margot remembers how he told her that she was the most extraordinary woman in the world. Becca was right from the beginning. The professor simply took advantage of a naive student. Margot has already sent her father dozens of messages, but all of them have gone unanswered. Mother and daughter go to a store to buy baby things. When she sees the prices, Margot is shocked. It hurts her to think that her child deserves all of this, but she will not be able to give it to him. If it were not for her mother's support, Margot would have completely given up. When Margot sees Mark in the parking lot with his wife Sarah and their 2 children, she cannot take it anymore and walks over to them. Her face shows outrage and hurt. After asking his wife and children to go on ahead into the store, Mark tells Margot that keeping the pregnancy was her decision alone, which means it is her responsibility, and besides, maybe it is not even his child at all. Hearing this, Margot freezes in disbelief. It is the most horrible thing he could have said. Margot is very angry, but not only at Mark, she is also angry at her mother, who does not seem especially happy about the imminent birth of her grandchild. Shannon says that of course she will love this baby just as much as she loves her daughter, but she is not happy. The life Margot never even got to have is over. So there is nothing here to celebrate. Soon Margot goes into labor. Shannon does not leave her daughter's side for a second, holding her hand. A healthy baby boy is born. Margot's father, Jinx Millet, used to be a professional wrestler. He is now in a rehabilitation center. Margot is discharged from the hospital. She is still getting used to the changes that have happened to her body. The baby has been named Bodhi. Margot will have to learn how to be a mother and come to terms with the fact that her life will never be the same again. Shannon has to work, so Margot is left alone with the baby. She is very anxious because she does not know how to handle children. Her roommates welcome her warmly. Everyone fawns over the baby, but none of the girls would actually want to be in Margot's place. The baby cries constantly, keeping her from sleeping. Breastfeeding is extremely difficult for her. Margot feels like she is losing her mind, even though only a few days have passed. Upset, She calls Becca and admits that she is not coping. No one tells a woman in advance that motherhood is not only joy, but also the loss of herself. Unable to take it anymore, Margot starts sobbing and pours out everything that has been weighing on her heart. Margot's roommates are already exhausted by the baby's non-stop crying too. In the rare moments when her son is asleep, Margot tries to write. She has dreamed of becoming a writer since childhood. When Jinx is discharged from the rehabilitation center, he gets his belongings back, including his phone. Only now does he see dozens of messages and missed calls from his daughter. Because the baby cries loudly at night, Margot starts having conflicts with her roommates. Only Susie supports her no matter what. The others need to prepare for exams, while Margot's life now consists of diapers and sleepless nights. In moments of despair, she bitterly regrets her decision to have the baby. Margot calls her mother and says she cannot take it anymore. But Shannon knows her daughter will get through it, because she has no choice. Margot urgently needs money, but she cannot go back to work without a babysitter, and she cannot afford one right now. It is a vicious cycle. Jinx heads back to New Jersey. Rereading his daughter's messages, he cannot believe he has become a grandfather. Jinx has missed so much. Margot is going to leave Bodhi with her mother and take a shift at the restaurant, just to earn at least a little money. Shannon meanwhile plans to introduce Margot to Kenny. Shannon believes she can build a good relationship with this man, because he is so decent, nothing like Jinx. When Margot finds out that her mother still has not told Kenny about the birth of her grandson, she is outraged. The girl refuses to meet him until her mother tells him everything, even if it goes against his religious beliefs. Margot is actually glad to go back to work after spending so much time shut inside four walls with the baby. But that joy does not last long, because Shannon brings the baby straight to Margot's workplace. The woman cannot cope, she cannot stand the non-stop crying. It makes her feel like a bad grandmother. Margot hugs her mother, promising that everything will be alright. It is not easy for either of them to get used to the changes. Margot is fired because she is constantly distracted and keeps missing shifts. Tess advises her to think about working remotely. However, the bad news does not end there. Two of Margot's roommates have found another apartment and are moving out in a week, which means she either needs to find new roommates or pay twice as much in rent. Gathering her courage, Margot goes to the college to show Mark his son. Although in truth that is not the main reason, she says she has lost her job and is at risk of losing her place to live. So the girl demands $3,000, not even trying to hide that this is blackmail. Later, after leaving Bodhi with Susie, her last remaining roommate, Margot goes to a restaurant with her mother and Kenny. Finally they meet. Margot is distracted by a call from an unknown number. It is Elizabeth Gable, Mark's mother. He gave her all of Margot's contact information. Elizabeth wants to meet with the girl to discuss the situation, in particular her attempted extortion. Margot does not understand what is happening. It feels like a bad joke. She has to pull herself together and return to the table. Kenny says that he is the president of his church and works with young people. Shannon never expected Kenny to propose to her. That is exactly why he invited Margot, to get her blessing. Of course Shannon says yes. Tomorrow Margot has to meet with Mark's mother, and she is very nervous. Susie, who is into cosplay, says that anyone can try on any role and advises Margot to think about that. Suddenly there is a knock at the door. Margot cannot imagine who could be visiting them at such a late hour. When she sees her father on the doorstep, she is speechless with shock. Jinx explains that he was in rehab and came as soon as he found out. They hug. Susie stares at Jinx in confusion. Besides cosplay, she is also into wrestling and is a huge fan of his. Margot never mentioned that Jinx Millet is her father, because the situation really is strange. Jinx does not have much money for now, but he gives Margot everything he has. Holding his grandson in his arms for the first time, the man feels an extraordinary rush of tenderness. Margot suggests that her father spend the night here. He has nowhere else to go anyway. Susie does not mind at all. Margot wakes up early in the morning so she can make it to both the job interview and the meeting with Elizabeth. An excited Susie admits to Jinx that he is her idol. The man in turn offers to watch Bodhi while Margot takes care of her business. She brushes it off, saying it is a team effort. Margot shows up to the job interview with her son, so she is turned down, despite her assurances that she will put the child in daycare as soon as she gets the job. Margot is not surprised. She meets with Elizabeth Gable, who appears to be an influential woman. She has already hired a lawyer. Elizabeth offers a deal. Margot will stay out of Mark's life and make no demands, and they in return will transfer $50,000 into Bodhi's trust fund. With interest, the amount will keep growing. Margot will not be able to access the money. Bodhi will be able to withdraw it after he comes of age. The girl decides to agree, believing this is an investment in her son's future. She will still have to cope on her own. Jinx spends the whole day cleaning the house, which delights Susie. Unexpectedly, Shannon arrives and comes face to face with Jinx, the father of her daughter. She is there to say that Margot will be her bridesmaid and to give her the dress. Jinx congratulates Shannon on her upcoming wedding, though the news clearly does not make him happy. The meeting turns awkward. Margot is running out of money, and she is constantly thinking about how to earn more. One day Jinx mentions a former colleague of his who was suspended after she started an OnlyFans account. She was making more there in a month than she made in a year of wrestling. Jinx says plainly that right now, after the divorce and everything else, he is not in a position to support them financially, but he could cook, clean and watch Bodhi if they let him live with them. Margot would gladly agree, and so would Susie, but they really do need a rent-paying roommate. She is also worried by the fact that her father, even though he has been through rehab, might relapse. Jinx promises that will not happen. He wants to be there for his daughter and grandson, to make up for lost time. Susie leaves the decision to Margot. The girl asks her father how bad things were. Jinx tells her that after his spinal surgery, he was in severe pain, and what they prescribed him was not enough. But Jinx is determined not to go back to that. Margot allows her father to stay, believing that together they can get through everything. For Kenny's sake, Shannon joins the church choir, although to be honest the whole thing is exhausting her. Meanwhile, Margot gets the idea to create an OnlyFans profile. And why not? She has nothing to lose really. Some women make tens of thousands of dollars doing it. Margot studies different accounts and is surprised by what some men are willing to pay for. The next morning she shares her findings with Susie. There really is something to this. While her father watches Bodhi, Margot goes with her mother to a bridal salon for a fitting. The girl is deeply touched that she is going to be a bridesmaid. But when Shannon finds out that Jinx is now living with their daughter, her mood changes instantly. Shannon believes Jinx has no right to do that, because he was never a good father to Margot, showing up and disappearing whenever he felt like it. The woman knows firsthand how hard it is to be a single mother, and she is sorry things did not turn out differently for Margot. Mother and daughter argue. The situation is made even worse by a call from Becca, who advises Margot to place Bodhi with a foster family until she gets her life together. Margot cannot understand how her friend can say something like that. Becca says that Bodhi needs a stable mother and that Margot has only herself to blame for all of this, since she allowed herself to get involved with a married man. In a burst of emotion, Margot throws her phone into the toilet. Fortunately, Jinx manages to save the phone. Shannon comes over to apologize to her daughter for what she said and to have an honest talk with Jinx. She does not like the very fact that he is here. No matter what he does, he will never know what it is like to raise a child alone, because all of that fell on Shannon's shoulders. Jinx has never understood the meaning of responsibility. He has always been selfish. Despite everything, Margot takes her father's side. She wants to give him a chance. Jinx understands that he does not deserve it, but he wants to do everything he can to make both his daughter and his grandson proud of him. Late in the evening, after putting her son to bed, Margot fills out her OnlyFans profile and sets the subscription price at $8. Shannon thinks that maybe she really was too unfair to Jinx. She only wants what is best for her daughter. Kenny, however, is convinced that Shannon did the right thing, because Jinx could be a bad influence on Bodhi. The woman has no idea what she should do next. Meanwhile, Margot gets her first subscriber, who tips her $20. She quickly gets a taste for it, and the number of her subscribers grows rapidly. But even that is not enough. Margot realizes that for her account to grow, she needs more visibility. Susie takes revealing photos of her. At night, Margot studies ways to promote herself on OnlyFans. The most obvious thing is to keep making content, do everything possible to draw on an audience, and collaborate with similar creators. Margot writes to two fairly popular creators from the same city, offering to do a stream together, and even tips them $50 as a friendly gesture. But in response, Margot only gets mocked. Truly angry now, she sends another message, only this time it is insulting. In reply, she receives an insult back, along with the address of their apartment. If Margot has the guts, she can come and say all of it to their faces. Margot is determined to go, no matter how hard Susie tries to talk her out of it. Jinx thinks his daughter has gone to a job interview. Surprisingly, the girls welcome her rather warmly, noting her boldness and unconventional look. And although she does not have much experience, they need new characters for their account to attract a bigger audience. Margot, for her part, is willing to do anything for the collaboration. She desperately needs money. Shannon comes over to ask her daughter's advice on which wedding cake tastes better, but she only finds Jinx there. She is surprised that Bodhi does not cry at all in Jinx's arms. He explains that you need to bend your knees a little, it makes rocking the baby easier. Unable to stop herself, Shannon says it would have been nice if he had taken care of Margot that way back then, instead of leaving everything to her. Jinx understands that he deserves those words. You cannot turn back time and change the past, but you can try to build a better future. A convention for former wrestlers and their fans is coming up soon. Jinx usually avoids events like that, and besides, he is no longer the man he used to be, but he is planning to go and would like his daughter to come with him. This is how Jinx wants to show her what he used to be like. When Susie once again photographs Margot in revealing outfits, Jinx walks into the room without knocking. Margot has to tell her father the truth about how she makes money. Jinx is disappointed, believing that a decent person would not do things like that. This angers Margot. How dare he judge her after being absent from her life? Margot has a son she has to provide for. Shannon cannot help tensing up when Kenny points out that she is listening to vulgar music. The woman just wants to be happy, wants to have a man she loves by her side, but deep down she has doubts about marrying Kenny, and her daughter cannot help sensing it. As promised, Margot goes to the wrestling convention with her father. There, Jinx runs into an old acquaintance of his, Lace. The last time she saw Margot, the girl was 3 years old. A lot has changed in their lives since then. Margot remembers her father saying that Lace was banned from competing because she started an OnlyFans account. For the first time in a long while, Jinx steps into the ring. He has missed that feeling so much, the crowd shouting his name and the adrenaline overflowing. But his old back injury makes itself known. He falls and cannot move. Margot is going to take her father to urgent care. Jinx asks his daughter to forgive him for judging her over OnlyFans. He only wanted to protect Margot. When he asks about Bodhi's father, Margot admits that it is her former literature professor. Of course this shocks Jinx. Margot explains that she cannot keep fighting because she signed an agreement. Fortunately Jinx recovers quickly, it was just a spasm. Margot's new friends explain the nuances of running an OnlyFans account to her. First and foremost she needs to protect her privacy, making sure her account is not linked to her main social media, otherwise her life could be ruined. Without telling his daughter anything, Jinx goes to the college where she used to study, wanting to look the man who treated her so badly in the eye. Frightened by Jinx's imposing appearance, Mark cannot really say anything in his own defense. Jinx breaks the professor's arm. The women from the church throw Shannon a bachelorette party. Every time she crosses paths with Jinx, she feels conflicted. Mother and daughter go to Vegas, where the wedding will take place. Jinx goes with them as Bodhi's babysitter. Since Kenny holds conservative views, Shannon will not drink or gamble, although in any other situation she would not miss such an opportunity, because it is Vegas. Jinx and Kenny meet for the first time, after which everyone checks into their rooms. Margot keeps running her account on the side, and her balance is already almost $3,000. Shannon is having a wonderful time, while Kenny does not look happy. He clearly does not like Vegas. Besides, he forgot his tie for the ceremony. If Shannon goes with him to pick out a new tie, she will not have time to get her manicure touched up. Margot offers to go with Kenny instead of her mother, although she would rather spend that time on her account. Still, it gives Kenny and Margot a chance to get to know each other better. He says how much he loves her mother and that after meeting Shannon, he became the happiest man alive. The three of them have dinner together. Since Kenny does not approve of alcohol, they order non-alcoholic piña coladas. All evening Kenny talks about how he has devoted himself to serving God and how happy he is to become part of their family. Shannon is clearly nervous, afraid of saying or doing something wrong. In his presence, she cannot relax. When Kenny finally falls asleep, Shannon suggests that Margot and even Jinx go to a bar and have some real fun. She wants a proper bachelorette party. Shannon admits to Jinx that she still thinks about him often. He could have had her, they could have been a happy family, but he ruined everything. Jinx understands that and is deeply sorry. While he steps outside with Bodhi to clear his head, mother and daughter can have a heart-to-heart talk. Margot feels that her mother does not love Kenny. But Shannon does not want to admit it, not even to herself. Kenny is a good man, and she cannot let him slip away. What if this is her last chance? All night they drink, gamble, and laugh. After the wedding, Shannon will have to forget about this kind of life. Under the influence of alcohol, Margot admits to her mother that she makes money on OnlyFans. At first Shannon thinks it is a joke, but when it becomes obvious that it is not, the woman demands that her daughter stop immediately. Shannon cannot wrap her head around the fact that her daughter is doing something indecent. Of course at the wedding tomorrow, they will have to pretend that everything is fine. Shannon cannot tell Kenny about this. And then the wedding day arrives. Shannon forces a smile onto her face, and so does Margot. Jinx has come too, just to catch a glimpse of Shannon in her wedding dress. It hurts him so much. Kenny and Shannon exchange rings. Margot sincerely congratulates them, hoping that someday her mother will forgive her and understand. Shannon does not know what to feel. Margot brings her father a piece of wedding cake. He remains the only one, besides Susie, who understands and supports her. On her wedding night, no matter how hard Shannon tries to look like a happy wife, she cannot relax or stop thinking about her daughter. And the truth is, Kenny is not her person at all. Meanwhile Margot and Jinx are getting ready to leave Las Vegas.